Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining today's webinar. We have a very interesting topic today to showcase the power of the EasyIO platform, which is the latest addition to Johnson Controls BMS portfolio.
So I'm Jane Walmsley. I'm the Senior Marketing Manager for our Global Building Automation System portfolio. We are really excited to be presenting to you today. Today's session will be covering quite a lot of great content. So we're first going to start off with just a quick background on the Johnson Controls company profile and how EasyIO plays within the Johnson Controls portfolio itself. We'll spend some time talking about EasyIO and how it enables us to help you win as customers. And then we'll spend a fair amount of time talking about the EasyIO platform, as well as some key use cases that we find with the EasyIO portfolio. And then we'll also talk about how EasyIO connects into and seamlessly integrates with the Johnson Controls extended portfolio. We will be leaving some time at the end of the presentation for some Q&A. So with that, though, we encourage you to use the chat or the question feature to submit your questions at any point throughout today's presentation, and we'll do our best, time permitting, to address those questions as much as we can. If for whatever reason we run out of time and we're not able to answer those questions, we'll make sure to publish a frequently asked questions document after the live event. Just a quick reminder that today's session will be recorded, so we will make a copy of the presentation available to all those who are interested. And you can certainly share that with your colleagues if they were unable to attend. We'll also make a copy of today's presentation available as well. So all of those materials will be made available shortly after today's live event. So with that, we will move into today's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Moving on to our speakers for the day. So we have two industry giants over here. So we have Leonardo Varela. He is our regional Product Director of Controls for Middle East and Africa. Leo is based in UAE, Dubai. He's been in the industry for 24 years, and he's been with Johnson Controls since the establishment of Johnson Controls in Middle East and Africa in 1997. Welcome, Leo. We also have Johan Schakenrad. He's the Global Director for EasyIO Business Development. Johan is based out of Netherlands. He's in the industry for 32 years. He was, in fact, the founder of EasyIO for Europe when he realized that we needed to bring something revolutionary to the BMS industry. And currently, Johan is with Johnson Controls in a global role, and we welcome you, Johan, for today's session. Leo, over to you, please.
Thanks, Paramita. So good day, good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me clearly. So I'd like to share a little bit about Johnson Controls here. I mean, there's a little bit of something I would like to share about something which I read about it a few days back. The research shows that either we are living in a building, we are working in a building, we are going to study in a building, or even we go to play indoors in a building. Right, so 90% of our time, on an average in a day, we spend inside a building. What that means is about 21 hours of a day we live inside a building. So we at Johnson Controls, our job, or we work towards transforming these places where we live, work, learn, and play, and to make them better for us to live, to make them safe, to make them comfortable, and make them intelligent. Now, this word intelligence here on the left-hand side, our customer promise, is very, very important. This is where exactly Johan will go through some of the features wherein EasyIO really fits in. On the right-hand side, these are our company values, which we make sure that we work with these values to deliver the customer promise to make these buildings safe, comfortable, and intelligent. Okay, so in today's world, artificial intelligence is quite a big buzzword, right? We can hear about artificial intelligence in buildings, in cars, in everything. But way back in 1883, we take pride to say that our founder, Warren Johnson, he invented the intelligent thermostat. And at that time, that was like artificial intelligence for buildings, because that was the first intelligent thermostat. And now we are the largest global powerhouse in intelligent buildings, and we're getting better day by day. And with this addition of the EasyIO platform portfolio to our entire global product portfolio, you'll see when Johan speaks about what else we can do to buildings to make them intelligent. This site has got a lot of data on it. I'd like to touch on a few pointers here. That's like we have been in the industry 135 years of innovation experience. We are there in 90% of the most iconic buildings. For example, we are there in the Burj Khalifa. We are then on most of the largest buildings across the globe. We are also working in various verticals. We supply systems to airports. We work with data centers, healthcare, hotels, schools, sports and entertainment, and various others. In this slide, this is a little bit of how we win. This is about how do we collaborate with customers. From the left to right, if you look at it, what we do is we closely work with customers. We like to understand what are their ambitions, how do they want to win? Because if our customer does not win, we do not win. Right? So when we work with partners, when we work with our distributors, we call them system integrators. We make sure we're just not a supplier of a solution to them. We want to work as partners. And when we say partners, we really mean it, that we partner with them so that they can supply a solution to their customers so that they can win. Because if our customer, if our partner is not making money and he's not successful, we at Johnson Controls cannot be successful. So we strongly believe in this, and we work very closely to build this relationship with our partners to help them win. Here on this slide, if you look at it on the left-hand side, this is like a puzzle. The solution which we're going to, Johan will be talking about in much more detail. These are some of the system capabilities. It's customizable, scalable, future-proof, cybersecurity is there, IoT, wireless. So what it does is this system which we are going to talk about, EasyIO, it enables us or provides a solution to the customer. So we can go into a new building, the new construction which is just coming up, based on what the ambitions or what the specifications of the building look like to make it comfortable, intelligent, and safe. We also can go into buildings which are old and the customer decides, okay, now we need to change something to make it adaptable to the modern world. And we also have some special solution and which has got IoT ready, cloud-based solution and stuff like that. So with this, I'd like to hand it over to Johan, who will go a little bit more detail with the EasyIO platform.
Well, thank you, Leo. Well, thank you all for listening to us. We are very happy that EasyIO is now part of Johnson Controls. For those who know me, I can talk about EasyIO, how I look at the future, how I look at buildings for an hour, but also for a full day. I will try to do it in half hour now, and I would first like to start with a video. Oh, thank you. Well, EasyIO started about 20 years ago. It was under a different name. And I guess that most of you on this call doesn't know this, but we were the first branded IP controller that Trillium was selling in their portfolio. It was our 30 points controller. And back in 2012, Mike Marston asked me, Johan, can you help us to grow our brand into Europe? So we wrote a business plan, and it was still in the middle of the recession, and we thought, okay, how can we win? How can we win from the big boys? How can we go to the big projects? How can we stand out of the rest of our industry? Well, that's not on pricing. It's all about doing things different, be disruptive, as you can see on this sheet, be innovative. And the whole team, the whole R&D team of EasyIO are all innovative people. And when we started, we built a business plan and we said, okay, how can we make the best product for system integrators? Well, let's first look at all the things, all the items that stress our partners. And then we talk about licensing, which has always been a big issue. Management of different versions of software was always a big issue. Software limitations, integration, can I do web, can I do logging? All those problems, we said, okay, let's tackle this and put it into one product so that our customers never have a problem again. So can you go to the next slide? So our goal was that our system integrators could set themselves apart from the competition. And our main focus in the beginning was vertical markets, because that was for us the easiest place to win, not the big projects. So we developed our first real IP controller with the Sedona platform on board. This controller should be able to do everything. So it should be a multi-protocol controller, should have a web server, should be able to log in, and with the highest security standards, at the best pricing. And why? If you target vertical markets, your return of investment is really important. So our goal was always to make sure that our customers could gain a return of investment of less than 1 year, because then it's not a real investment anymore. So by bringing a BMS into a small building, you can easily save 10–20% energy. So if your price is in line with that saving, then you're doing a good job. But you can only do that by creating one product. So we came up with the FG controller. But we also came up as the first one with Wi-Fi capabilities. And why Wi-Fi? Because there were so many other wireless opportunities. We have chosen for Wi-Fi because it was widely accepted by anyone. Long ago, we all learned about the main things you need in life, like bread and water. But I don't have to tell you how important that Wi-Fi and batteries are nowadays. It's well accepted. Everybody's using it, and it's available at every corner of your building. So a few years ago, we decided to add Wi-Fi at no extra cost for our customers, and to gain more projects, to be more flexible in projects, but to give them also more solutions. Can you go to the next sheet? So we came up with our own ecosystem because some feedback we got from our customers, they said, Johan, if I look at all the players in this industry, there are so many controllers with all kinds of different functionalities, and it's creating problems for us. We need to train people at different kinds of controllers. How do we quote it? How do we specify it? Was always a challenge. So the main goal of EasyIO that time was to come up with a controller with everything on board. And it's something that the new generation is looking at. And in our industry, it's not common use to develop a controller with everything on board. And why not? I don't know, but it's just part of our industry. It still is when you buy a controller and when you want to use, let's say, BACnet IP client version, you have to pay for it, which is weird because it's an open protocol. But still, people want you to pay, and that makes it complicated for your company to make the right quotes, the right bids. So we said everything has to be on board. It's like buying a smartphone. When you nowadays buy a smartphone, you can do everything with it. You don't have to buy an upgrade to make phone calls with your smartphone. And that's exactly how the ecosystem from EasyIO also works. It comes with everything on board, what makes your life a lot easier. So no hidden fees, no hidden costs. It comes with all these features on board. The basic is Linux in our controller. And on top of Linux, we are using the Sedona framework. For those who don't know what the Sedona framework is, the Sedona framework is developed, I think 12 years ago, 13 years ago by Brian Frank from Tridium. It was a version of the Niagara framework he developed to use on small devices, on small systems. And that time, EasyIO adapted that technology. If you look at the Sedona framework nowadays as an open source, I think we use only 5% from what it was. That's how much we developed on top of it. And we are very proud for us being able to develop this. And especially by becoming Johnson Controls, we were able to add more features to it. And the most important one, which I will already tell you at the beginning of this presentation, is our auto-tuning PID. And we are really proud we have this, because this is the biggest problem that system integrators are facing nowadays. Our industry is booming. It's almost impossible to hire engineers, commissioning engineers, who has nowadays knowledge about how to do the right PID settings, how to look at systems. Most of the commissioning engineers are not trained like that. So we are happy to take that stress away from you by introducing our auto-tuning PID. You can just commission your normal IOs, your normal values, your normal settings, and you walk out. And our system will auto-tune itself. And that's really great, because also in the future, when there are more people in the building, or when seasons are changing, or your system is changing, the system will change itself, which is pretty unique in our industry. So that's part of the Sedona framework. Besides the Sedona framework, we also have added the BACnet and the Modbus protocols to each controller. But we have gone a step further than the competition did. So looking at BACnet, we have BACnet MSCP and BACnet IP, but both client and server. And we do the same on Modbus with the slave and the master version. And you can mix and match everything. So if, for example, you have a small site where you install our controller and you realize, oh, there's also an enterprise system we have to connect to, you can still use the BACnet client option in the controller, even though you're running BACnet server or something, or slave. That doesn't matter. You can just add it as a service to your controller at no extra cost. Besides that, we added MQTT for secure communication with other systems. We have added the HTML5 web server. I will tell you a lot more about it in the next slides. And we added the SQLite database for logging, to store data on the controller. And the newest feature we have added is the OpenVPN. And when you have multiple sites, like for a vertical market or a national account, you can all connect them to the VPN network without having the need to add an extra router or whatsoever. So the OpenVPN is on board. So everything is included in the same ecosystem for every controller. And again, this makes it really unique because there are no hidden costs, but it will open more doors for you, especially if you look at the brownfield industry nowadays, where you have legacy systems. You can move on with EasyIO and expand to the newest features, or expand to an IP network, or whatever you want. We will not limit you. Can you go to the next slide? So when we developed our hardware for our ecosystem, we said, again, and I keep on repeating that, it will all need the same features. So we haven't developed a controller for a specific need. or for a specific niche. All the controllers we developed are free programmable controllers. The only thing what we have done is we added some extra features. It's more hardware features like the Wi-Fi antenna. So the nice thing about this full product line is it's forward compatible and backward compatible. That means if we develop new software features in the future, it will get automatically updated, or not automatically, you have to do it yourself, of course, but we make it available for you. And then it's up to you if you want to use it or not. So the product keeps on getting better and better in the future. It's like buying a Tesla. You buy it now and the product gets better over the years because of all the updates. So with that, it also means that we don't have a specific room controller or a specific air handling unit controller or a rooftop unit controller. No, we have free programmable controllers. They start with the FS, we have the FW, and we have the FT. And the FS is what we have called in the past our beast. That's mainly our plant controller. And you can extend the I/O with the FW or the FT controllers, but I will tell you more about it on the next sheets. Can you go to the next one? And so this is the full range of controllers. We have the FS series with 32 I/O and 20 I/O, and all the I/O are universal I/O. You have the FW series in several versions. You have with 8 I/O, with 14 I/O, and 28 I/O. And I'm skipping the second one, the FW8V. That one has a built-in pressure sensor. But we will come with the new FW-VV controller with also a built-in damper actuator. Besides that, we have our newest release, the FT series, and that's a really unique controller. I think it's the first one in our industry what fits in an envelope. And this controller is a full free programmable controller with 2 inputs and 2 outputs. And you still have the web server on board for dashboarding, and we talk backnet IP over Wi-Fi. And this will open many doors for you. And I will give you one example before we move to the use cases, but I once had a customer in the Nordic countries. It was a hotel chain, and they had very old analog Frankel unit controllers, but they needed to do energy logging, and they had to bring a BMS system on board to gain energy savings. Now, the first thing, of course, that everyone in our industry is saying, let's replace the controllers. And then I realized, okay, is that the best way forward for the customer? Is that something that the customer really wants? So we sat down with him and we created a solution with the FT, because with the FT, you can measure your room temperature, you can add an occupancy sensor to it, you can write logic to it, and based on that logic, we decided with the output to just switch the analog controller on or off. Because that's a good thing with old analog technology, you can just switch it off. It doesn't harm anything. But by switching that off, they could immediately save 30% of energy with minimum investment with this small controller. And the good thing is, with this FT controller, it can still push up all the data to any enterprise system there is. Can you go to the next sheet? So, without talking for hours about all the technical features of the controllers, we realize it's better to talk about solution set, use cases. So how can you use our controllers for your projects? So let's start with the first use case. With the FS controller. As you can see on this sheet, the FS controller can host graphics. In this case, you see an air handling unit. It's full dynamics. So you see the fan spinning around and everything. You can change the colors. You can put graphics, schedulers, trend files, everything on the screen. But we also included dashboard technology in every controller. And dashboard technology is something that more and more systems are now starting to use. If you look at home automation system, it's all about dashboarding technology. So dashboarding opens up a complete new world, because you can make a dashboard for an end user. He can change the blinds, you can change the light settings, you can change the temperature settings, you can add trend files or energy consumption to the dashboard. And because the end user doesn't know what an air handling unit is, the end user wants to manage his own building, how he wants to manage it. And you can do that by giving him the dashboard technology. So any device you have, you can use to browse these dashboards because it's HTML5. But there's another unique feature with dashboarding technology because, as I said in the beginning of this presentation, looking at commissioning engineers when they go on site, nowadays our industry is moving so fast that it's difficult to train every engineer on, let's say, the EasyIO technologies. So what if you can make a commissioning dashboard for your engineers? So with their iPad or their laptop, they just log in to the dashboard and they just see a dashboard with settings. So they don't have to go into the tool on the dashboard. They can do all the settings to, let's say, commission this air handling unit. But in the dashboard, you can also make backup and restore options. So you're really flexible with this. But with this FS controller, it's a very, very powerful controller. Because as you can see on the details on the right side, it has all the protocols on board, but it's also able to manage up to 90 devices. So if you have an existing site and you want to bring graphics to the site or some integration, use the FS controller. It can manage up to 90 devices and 3,000 points. And on board, you can still log over 100,000 points. So it's a very powerful controller, not limited by any licenses, fees, or whatever. You buy the product and you can use everything what I'm telling you. It's always included. And we have the highest security standards. We have the 802.1x and the TLS. And of course, the built-in OpenVPN. Okay, now to the next sheet. So here you see some examples from the graphics. But again, we provide you with a library. You can use them, but you can also change them. So that's how open we want to be for our customers. If you don't like the look and feel of our graphics, or if you want to change the whole adapter widgets and you have some Java knowledge, you can change it into whatever you want. And it's funny to see that we have customers who already started to make a business model of this. We have a customer in Norway who is making their own graphics, their own library, and they are providing it to our industry. Some of them are free of charge, some of them they will charge for it, but it's creating a new industry by being this open. Next one. Again, the FS, which I just showed, is a fully standalone controller. We don't need a supervisor to operate for anything. So we are completely standalone. But also the FW series is a fully standalone controller. So it has its own real-time clock on board, it has its own schedulers on board, its own logging. In fact, it's similar to the FS with less capacity, but with Wi-Fi on board. So in this case, you can use it for a Vankel unit or a rooftop unit controller, free programmable, but instead of the graphics, this one only has a dashboarding technology on board. Because most of the time, there's nothing more needed than the dashboarding. Instead of 90 devices, this one is up to 5 devices, but that goes back to the capacity of the processor, because the FS controller has a quad-core processor, so which can handle a lot more. So, and still, this controller can store up to 6,000 records. And again, it comes also with the high security standards. Next one. So here you see some examples of dashboards. And again, these are free programmable, so you decide how your dashboard looks like. And at the left top side, you see a dashboard which is made for an end user. In the middle one, you can see with all Vankel unit settings and PID settings. That's a real commissioning dashboard you can make. But of course, you can put a weather forecast in it or graphics of your pictures of your rooftop unit or whatsoever. Everything is possible. Next one. So if you look at our tool, it's just a 2-day training that you need. But the 2-day training is based on having no experience in EasyIO or Niagara at all. And I'm saying Niagara because our tool has the same look and feel as Niagara. Even though we optimized it, we work with a similar kind of objects as Niagara is working. So if you have trained Niagara engineers, within 1 or 2 hours, they're completely up and running with the features that EasyIO offers on top of our tool. And we only have one tool. And that is nowadays unique in our industry, but it's really important. One tool that does all. You're logging the settings to make your logic, to make your graphics, to make your dashboards. It's all one tool. And what we also have done with this tool is to make it Windows independent. So it runs on any Windows platform. Next one. But there's more than just projects with one controller. So when we developed the IP controller, we also developed our own kit in Sedona to talk Sedona between the controllers. So like in this case, you can just create your own IP network. And for us, it doesn't matter if you have one controller or 1,000 or 5,000 controllers, they just all talk to each other over IP. And over IP, you can talk Sedona, BACnet, or Modbus. You choose. We don't choose. We leave that to our customers, so they can make the right decision for their projects. And as you can see in this sheet, we are the first one who also made IP version 6 available in all our controllers. At the moment, we are running projects in London with 4,500 controllers sitting on one IP network, all talking BACnet and MQTT at the same time, which makes us pretty unique. And the MQTT, by the way, is broker independent. And if you are interested in to learn more about MQTT, I'm happy to organize extra sessions to provide you more details about what is MQTT and how can you use it, because it's becoming a new standard in our industry. Next one. But as you could have seen on the FW controllers, we have 2 Ethernet ports. So we support daisy chain, but also a full ring topology. And the ring topology is pretty unique what we have done, because we have brought the spanning tree protocol to the controllers. That means you don't need to use an expensive managed switch to make a ring topology, just a regular switch you can use. And within the FW, we have made a web page where schematically the whole network's automatically generated and visualized. You can immediately see, okay, what are the IP addresses of the controllers? What are the MAC controllers, the MAC addresses of the controllers? Is there a failure? Is there a problem? You can easily see it. And even the problem is being taken care of by the SCP, because it will find its own way back to the other network or ring, other controllers. Besides that, we also developed our own power over Ethernet gateway. So there are nowadays becoming more and more specs into the market where power over Ethernet is requested. We decided to not bring PoE directly into the controllers, but to make a separate gateway. So you're more flexible, because nowadays, most of the projects still don't need it. And to not make the hardware cost more than needed, we decided to make it into a separate gateway. Next one. But also for the brownfield, for the retrofit industry, if you have a building with an existing MSCP network, RS485 network, you can also use it. It goes back to the beginning of my presentation, where I told you, you can use the IP connectivity of our controllers, but you can also use the MSCP or the RS485 connectivity of our controllers. Like in this case, the FS, the RS485 port, is being used as a BACnet or Modbus port to all the other controllers, but also to read third-party controllers or meterings or whatsoever. And at the same time, you can also make your building future-proof by adding the newest technologies on IP or features into the building. Next one. Here you see Wi-Fi. I mean, there are more and more buildings, old buildings, where you're not allowed to rewire or to put wires on the wall or drill holes in the wall. So in that case, it's really good to start using Wi-Fi. Our controllers, as I said in the beginning, talk BACnet IP over Wi-Fi, but you can also use Wi-Fi to make a dashboard for the end user. So with his own mobile phone or a tablet, he can log into the controller and change his settings. But also, if you want to extend the network in a listed building, use the Wi-Fi. We also have used Wi-Fi in vertical markets and retails, and that brought a massive saving for the end user, because if you have 1,200 shops, and when you want to bring BMS or intelligence to your shop, and you have to rewire from the beginning of the shop till the end of the shop where the boilers are or where the meters are, and you have to open up the ceiling, and it will cost you 1 day, so you will lose 1,200 days of revenues. That will not help with your ROI, but with Wi-Fi it will, because you can use the existing customer network or create your own network, because we are both an access point or a repeater at the same time. So the Wi-Fi for sure will bring you a lot more flexibility. Next sheet. Also worth mentioning is our FX80 series. It's the J's, as you all know it. We have lots of our customers are developing their own legacy drivers. So if you have a legacy system, please contact us, because we can help you. We can provide you with the JSONs. We can provide you with all the drivers you need. We can help you with that. So please get in touch with us, because there are no limits. We can always help. Next one. So this brings everything back to one big topology. So let me summarize it, but I want to start at the top of the sheet where you see the cloud, because that's really important. And I said that a few times during the presentation, but we are enterprise independent by enabling you to use all the technologies on board free of charge. And I will repeat them: the MQTT, we have the RESTful API, we have the BACnet, we have the Modbus. Just use them, because it will bring you the connectivity to any kind of enterprise system. And of course, we have the connectivity to the Niagara 4 server if you want. So at the left side, you see the daisy chain topology. You can use a JACE with legacy drivers, or to bring connectivity with other systems. You can use the FS to make a BACnet and a Modbus network by connecting over 90 devices or more than 3,000 points. That makes it a really, really powerful controller in our industry. Even for small sites, big sites, there are no limits for us. So also the FW, as I said, can manage up to 5 devices. Important to mention the STP protocol again, if you want to make a ring network. With the ring network, you can go up to 30 devices sitting on one ring. What makes it interesting for towers where you have big floors, where you have more than 20 or 30 controllers. You can just make one ring network, and you have secured connectivity with the STP protocol. And of course, the Wi-Fi on board. So next sheet. Well, this is summarizing the most important features we just released the last year at the MQTT, the OpenVPN, and of course with the FT, the smallest controller in our industry, and in fact still a real edge controller with all the technologies on board. And I'm realizing, looking at the time, that this was really fast, in just over 30 minutes. I can imagine that anyone on this call has many questions, and I'm happy to answer these questions at the end of this call. But I'm also happy to organize an extra session to explain more about what EasyIO can bring to you, and to do live demos, because the PowerPoint works, but to see it live really works, and that you experience yourself how easy it is to work with our technology. Well, thank you for your time, and I will hand back to Leo.
Thank you, Johan. Thank you for the very informative session. So we have, on top of what we understood about EasyIO today, a very quick overview of the extremely comprehensive range of field devices that we have to support the portfolio of the controllers that we have seen. So we have an extensive range of thermostats, standalone, touchscreen, communicating type. We have sensors and switches for all functionalities, whether it is for the duct applications, chill water applications, pipe applications, or it's on the wall for the occupant comfort, and definitely complementing the portfolio are the extremely wide range of valves, control valves, pressure independent valves, butterfly valves, and flow meters and airflow measuring station. In addition to these devices in the first 4 columns that you see here, which go hand in hand with the controllers that we talked about, we also have 2 other solutions. One is the KNX-based guest room management system and lighting control portfolio, which is well suited for the hospitality industry, as well as the Triatech specialty product for critical environments, which are well suited for hospitals, labs, etc. So we have an extended portfolio range that now becomes available as Johnson Controls offering along with the EasyIO platform. With that, I will move on to a small poll that we request your time for.
Yeah, thank you, Paramita. We'll go ahead. Now that you've had a chance to understand a little bit more about the EasyIO platform as presented by the team, and especially Johan, we're curious to hear what feature of the EasyIO platform are you most excited about, or what would you be most likely to make you invest in the EasyIO platform. So I'm going to select that and launch it here for you. And we'll give everyone just a minute or two to select their answers. And you can select more than one answer. So we'll give everyone just a minute or two to log their choices. Thank you. Okay, it looks like we've got a lot of good results coming in. We'll give it just about 15 more seconds. Okay, so we'll go ahead and close out the poll. And then I'm going to, let's see, share the results here. So we had really good results. So thank you everyone for your responses. So it looks like, interestingly enough, the answers in terms of preference almost align with how they're listed in order on the screen, but about 76% of you selected IoT ready with cloud connectivity and MQTT, followed by innovative controllers supporting multiple protocols. then followed by the open source framework, followed by portfolio and application versatility, and including the server class FS, and then cybersecurity features. So thank you very much, everyone, for your logging your responses. With that, then, I will turn it back over to Paramita.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate your time today. I hope that this was an informative session. And as Johan mentioned many times during the discussions, we welcome you to connect with us. You have the contact details at the bottom. Please feel free to connect with us for any appointment related to whether further discussion or you want to talk to us about becoming a Johnson Controls EasyIO channel partner. That's most welcome. And we will be sharing the recording from today's session with you. And once again, thank you and have a good day.
Okay, so and Paramita, if you wouldn't mind, it might be a great idea to leave that. Thank you. Yeah, I was going to say let's leave that up there so the attendees can access the link on the slide there. So we do have a couple of really good questions coming in, so I'll just kind of read these and then I'll let Paramita, Leo, and Johan address them accordingly. So one of the questions, yes, we will be making a copy of today's presentation available to all those who registered and attended. So that will be coming in the next couple of business days. Johan, I think one thing that kind of came through during the presentation that you could maybe expand on a little bit is the licensing fees, or rather the no licensing fees. Maybe you could talk a little bit more about that.
Yes, thank you, Jane. Well, with the licensing fee, we mean that you can use all the features on the controller without having to buy an upgrade. So again, we don't have any licensing fee. So you just buy the product and you can use it how it is. So I don't know what more to say about it, but I think it's like buying your phone. Yeah, you don't need to buy an upgrade to start using your phone network or anything else. And you just buy the product and you can just use it. With that, we enable you to create your own solution sets.
Okay, great.
Without any limitations.
Okay, great, thank you. And one of the questions we got, and I may not pronounce this correctly, so forgive me in advance, but does EasyIO have LoRaWAN connectivity in the controllers? So LoRaWAN connectivity.
No, we don't have that as a standard in our controllers, but we are looking at developing a multi-gateway with different kind of technologies on board, like this. But that's for the future. It's on the roadmap.
Okay. Great, thank you. And then does the EasyIO FT, can that be extended by using the EasyIO FD modules?
No, because the FT is a completely wireless module and the FD is a hardwired input module on the R485 IP, but not Wi-Fi.
Great, thank you. And the EasyIO Niagara 4 server connectivity, is that through a BACnet driver or a separate driver?
Sorry, Jane, I have to come back to the next question because I'm realizing maybe yes, you can, because when you connect the FT to your Wi-Fi router, and when you bring the FD back to your IP network, then yes, it should be able to talk. But I will do a deeper dive into this and try to make a schematic out of this, how to do that.
Okay, okay, great. Thank you, Johan. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. So, right. So to reiterate what Johan was saying, when we're asking about can you extend the EasyIO FT with the EasyIO FT modules, we'll provide more information on that. Then moving on to the next question, is the EasyIO Niagara 4 server connectivity through a BACnet driver or a separate driver?
Now you can use the MQTT, you can use the BACnet, or you can use the Modbus. So it's up to you how you want to use it. So for us, in our tool, the CPT tool is like a Niagara. You just select a protocol and you drag it into your service folder, and that's how you can use it. And again, it goes back to the license fees, because you can just use any protocol in your service folder without any cost. So that it's up to you how you want to use it to talk upwards to the Niagara supervisor.
Great, thank you. And if someone were interested in training courses, particularly around programming, where can they access information on training?
I think that's more a question for Paramita.
Yes, Johan, I'm here. Sorry, I was on mute. So I would appreciate if the person can reach out on the contact that is mentioned here, and we can connect and understand a little bit in details on the requirement and then address those.
Right, and Paramita, I can also follow up with you. I'm able to see who asked the question. So we'll make sure we get that person more information on training and courses available. Great,
Absolutely.
great.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Another more technical question, can we use only the FW controller if we use Niagara software, or are they also, or do they also need to use the FS series? So if they have Niagara software, do they only need the FW controller, or do they also need the FS series?
No, every controller, if it's the FS or the FW or the FT, is an edge controller itself. So there's no need to add an FS to the FW to make the connectivity. Each controller has its own connectivity.
Great, thank you. And then a question on the FC20 controller. Does that have a max voltage of 10 volts or 24 VAC?
I don't get that one.
They're asking about what's the max voltage for the FC20?
To power it, I guess then, or because the power is 24 volts AC or DC, and inputs and outputs are 10 volt DC.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, and we are getting some questions on more information on MQTT. So I think we'll, inquiries about having a follow-up session or maybe more of a deep dive into MQTT specifically, maybe as a follow-up webinar. So that's really great insight and input. Thank you. So we'll definitely take that into consideration. And I think Paramita and Johan, we can discuss some ways to follow up with the audience on more information on MQTT, whether that be, as you said, Johan, with more demos or presentations. I believe those are, oh, we did have one more question come in here, so we got a couple of minutes. I see some folks raising their hands or indicating that they do have a question. Again, if you could use the question or chat feature within GoToWebinar, that's really the best way to put your question forward. And we do have about 5 minutes left, so we'll continue to take questions as long as we have time for. So, okay, so the question, when it comes to using universal output as a digital output, software side, not okay. Let me try to restate this a different way. When you're using the universal output as a digital output on the software side and not as a physical output, meaning do you have to? Doesn't it have to? Yeah, maybe we may need to follow up with this person specifically. I don't know if you're able to see the question, Johan, but there looks like there's some questions on universal output.
No, I cannot see the questions, so.
Okay, yeah, I'll follow up with you on that. Okay.
I can say something about the universal outputs, but that's more from a hardware point of view. If you want to use on the FS controller the universal output as a relay output or a digital output, you can do that by using a 24 volt DC relay to the universal output, but then you have to power the controller also 24 volts DC. On the FW series, you cannot do that. Therefore, we developed our own FRO2 module, and there's a 2 relay module that connects directly to the universal output, and that's related to the fact that the FW can only send out 5 milliamps on the output. So we had to develop this solution to overcome that. I hope this answered the question.
Yeah, great. Thank you. That's really great information. Okay. I believe those are all of the questions we've received, all really great questions. So thank you. And we will definitely make sure that we're providing more information on MQTT and on available training, since those are great, topics to delve into a little further after the live event. So Paramita, I'll let you give our final closing remarks, and thank you everyone for all of your great questions.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Johan, for answering those questions. I believe that there was a lot of interest around how the solution platform works, and this is very enlightening for us. And we hoped that we, met up to the expectation of the attendees related to the information that we presented with you today. Once again, I would like to thank you very much for your time and the questions. Thank you, Johan and Leo, for the insights into the Johnson Controls company and the portfolio. And thank you, Jane, for all your support. Once again, the contact is available for you to reach out to us. Please feel free, and have a good day, everyone.